Hello and welcome to Think Watercolour. Today I'm going to be working from this reference photo of a small waterfall in a stream on the Lime Park estate in Cheshire. I took this picture last year on one of my many visits to the estate. The water's flowing into a shallow pool where you can see the rocks in the bed of the stream. And I thought this would be a good subject to demonstrate painting moving water. I'm not going to try to paint every detail, just an interpretation of the scene. It can be overwhelming when you try to capture every leaf and rock in a reference photo like this. So my advice to anybody who paints in watercolour is to edit and simplify. Just try to capture the essence of what you see. So let's get started. This is Saunders Waterford 300 gram rough paper, and I've loosely sketched the main features as a guide for the painting. And I've mixed up grey with cobalt blue and burnt sienna, some warm red, some yellow ochre, and some sap green with a little cadmium yellow added. I'm working with my board flat. I'm going to start with the rocks on either side with just some of the grey, softening the edges with some clean water, and then dropping in some of the warm red, just to create a variety of colour in the rocks. This is the first wash and it's going to dry much lighter, but I just wanted to get a background down just to locate where the rocks are. Letting the colours blend, wet in wet, softening edges here and there with clean water. While that's all drying, I'm going to use some Van Dyke brown for the water in the pool below the waterfall. Just trying to painting the darker areas. This is going to dry lighter and I'll have to darken it shortly, but I just want to get some of these ripples blocked in. This is the first wash again, just indicating where the flow of the ripples are in the water as it comes down the waterfall. And I'm just adding some sap green into the same into the mix of Van Dyke brown, just varying the colours a little bit, just to suggest a variety of tonal values really. I'm going to let this dry and then come back and darken it once I've finished. Okay, it's dry now and I'm just adding some more of that Van Dyke brown just to darken some of the areas. Just trying to get the tonal value correct. I'll probably add some more darks and a few more shades of the green as well. Letting it all blend together. I often use these demonstration sketches as a means to practice for a larger, more finished painting. And if this sketch turns out okay, I may well produce a more finished painting at a later date. I mean, I recommend this idea to anyone who uses watercolour. It serves two purposes really. First, you don't have to worry about getting it wrong because there's no pressure. It's just a practice sketch. And secondly, you get to see which colours are going to work for your subject. I've just mixed up some cobalt blue with some burnt sienna, and I just added a touch of that Van Dyke brown as well, just to darken the area where there's like an indentation in the rocks just to the right of where the water's flowing over. Again, this will dry lighter, and I'm just trying to slowly build up from the lightest light to the darkest dark. You don't always have to do that. Sometimes you can go straight in with dark colours. But I always prefer, when I'm doing painting like this, with areas of rocks, trying to get the colours built up slowly. Having said that, I'm just going to paint a very dark mix with some ultramarine and Van Dyke Brown for the rocks on the actual waterfall where the water's flowing over, because there's some very deep shadows, and it's quite easy to paint them in dark straight away. You don't have to build these up. You have to make choices when you're painting in watercolour. Sometimes it's better to build up from light to dark, and other times just go straight in with some dark, as I am here. That all comes with experience. The more you paint, the better you'll get at doing this sort of thing. Just going to add some more yellows and greens to the water in the foreground. A few streaks here and there. Just let the colours blend a little bit. Just trying to get the value right. Again, the trick is to let these washes dry if you can. Just take your time. I'm just using a sort of a muddy green for the rocks where the water's flowing down the stream. You can just see some of the rocks showing through the water. That'll dry much lighter. Just adding a few more dark shadows on the actual waterfall itself. Again, using the same colour, some more ripples in the water. Just darkening that hollow in the rocks, the other side of the waterfall there, just trying to get the value right there. And I'll soften that with some clear water into the rocks. So just so that I don't get too many hard edges over there. And as I add these darker areas and cracks and joins in the rockwork on the other side, the painting will start to take shape. At the moment, it's at the ugly stage where you think it's never going to work, but just stick with it and keep going. Just dropping a little bit more of the warm red into there, more ripples in the water. Once this is all dry, I'll come back and add some sparkles and some more ripples with some white gouache. Again, just using the green just to try and hint at some shadows where there are some rocks on the bed of the pool there. It's a very shallow pool, and you can see the rocks in the photograph. But I'm not, as I said before, I'm not going to copy it slavishly. I'm just interpreting it in my own way. Just using some cobalt blue just to add some shadows in the flowing water, following the line of the way the water's flowing with the brush strokes. And once it's dry, you'll see it suggests flowing water. And a few more shadows in where the water's bubbling at the bottom of the waterfall. I just thought it was a nice image to paint, so we'll see how it turns out. I've just mixed up some white gouache now, and I'm just going to start adding some ripples with a small brush, just where the light's reflecting as we're looking at the waterfall. Just trying to use a bit of dry brush technique as well, just to suggest some sparkle in the water, using the roughness of the paper to pick up the white gouache. You could do this with white watercolour paint, but I always find it dries quite flat, whereas if you mix up the white gouache to quite a thick consistency, it retains its brightness. Again, just trying to pick up the texture of the paper for these ripples, just to suggest some sparkle. I'm just using a rigger now with some of the darker colour, just to indicate the joins in the rocks, the rock wall on the other side of the pool. As you add these darker darks, the painting starts to come together. And I may darken them a little bit more once they're dry. Let's see how they dry first. In my last video that I posted, I talked about adding contrast, and that's exactly what I'm doing with these darks, just making sure I've got some contrast between the shadows and the darkness of the pool against the foaming water as it comes off the waterfall. Again, just darkening that foreground a bit more. Not totally convinced I've got that right, but I'll let it dry and have another go at it in a bit. Just mixing up some sap green with a touch of jadeite green for the grasses that are growing on the other side, on the other bank, on the other side of the pool. And there's some grasses growing out of a crevice in the rocks as well, so just indicate those. It's, again, I'm not slavishly copying the photograph. There's a lot more foliage in the photograph. I'm just trying to simplify it and edit it down. Just using the side of the rigger for the base of those grasses. Adding a few darker patches. I'm just going to add some more darks in a few areas. Some of the shadows on the waterfall, the rocks on the far side of the pool, and some of the joins in the stonework, and that should bring the whole thing together. Unfortunately, the camera died on me while I was doing that, but as you can see, I've darkened some of the areas and just darkened that foreground in the pool a little bit, and tidied it up, and I think it looks better for it. I do hope you found this demonstration useful. The trick with painting moving water is to paint the bluish grey shadows in the direction that the water's flowing to create the illusion of movement. If you found the video helpful, do give it a like, as it really helps with YouTube. If you're not a subscriber, do subscribe and hit the notification bell for future videos. As I've said on many occasions, I try to post once every week to 10 days. And once more, thanks for watching.